Cyber Shadow sets out to answer a very simple question. What would an NES Ninja Gaiden game look and play like if it were made today? Admittedly, it's a hypothetical that The Messenger already sort of answered back in 2018, but look, sometimes questions like these can have multiple good answers, and Cyber Shadow is no better proof of that. This retro-styled action platformer developed by Mechanical Head Studios and published by Shovel Knight developer Yacht Club Games is a truly great take on the 2D Ninja Gaiden formula. But more than that, it constantly evolves and brilliantly adds new gameplay and level design challenges with every new upgrade that it gives you. These upgrades continue to compound upon each other to the point that by the time you reach the end of Cyber Shadow's 7 to 8 hour adventure, it's more from a simple yet fun action platformer to an absolutely wild and occasionally brutally difficult one that surpasses its inspiration in every way. Cyber Shadow puts you into the pixelated ninja boots of the titular Shadow, who awakens from an incubation pod to find a destroyed city that's been overrun by out-of-control machines, and he is tasked with rescuing his master and freeing his clan from the clutches of the evil Dr. Progan. It's got a nice nostalgic feel, but it's a serviceable story at best and suffers from a lack of personality in its writing and its characters. But where Cyber Shadow does deliver, however, is in its gameplay. It really hits on all fronts. Level design, enemy variety, character progression, boss battles, it's all top notch. Your set of tools begins very modestly. Shadow can jump and slash his sword horizontally and, well, that's it. This limited moveset is a large part of what drives the challenge in the early goings because enemies and obstacles approach from all angles, but you can only hit things that are directly in front of you. Much like in, well, you guessed it, Ninja Gaiden. But this is a modern take on old school design, and it comes with modern assists to help smooth the hard edges just a little bit. Checkpoints not only give you a respawn point, but also restore your health when you step on them. If that's not enough, and usually it's not, you can also spend a currency called Essence to unlock permanent upgrades for that specific checkpoint that will either restore your magic or provide you with a power-up when you respawn from there. These power-ups are especially cool because they're almost always specifically designed to be especially useful in the upcoming section. For example, a shield that can block projectiles from the front that becomes available right before a particularly bullet hellish encounter. My absolute favorite of these power-ups though is the aptly named Swag Blade. This monster power-up tethers a saw blade to your character that can be manipulated through your momentum. It's a super fun and creative weapon to use, and I just wish that I was given more opportunity to use it other than just the 1 or 2 chapters that it's available in. Cyber Shadow really hits its stride just a little more than halfway through, once you gain the ability to sprint. It's at this point where it metamorphosizes from a Ninja Gaiden-esque larva state and becomes entirely its own beast. Sprinting gives you the ability to use a super fast dash slice that can go right through enemies and obstacles, sort of like the flying swallow technique of the 3D Ninja Gaiden games, allowing you to use it both as a devastating attack and a tool to reach new areas. It leads to awesome moments like this where you get to feel like a badass by flying through a level without ever touching the ground. All throughout Cyber Shadow's campaign, it never feels like it's running out of ideas, and I found myself uniquely challenged by each new chapter even as my abilities and strengths grew. A lot is thrown at you all at once, often while forcing you to deal with some other sort of environmental nightmare, like orbital laser beams, a creeping mass of insta-kill spikes, a rising elevator that threatens to squish you below insta-kill spikes, or security lasers that when tripped will activate extra enemy robots and turrets that will mercilessly hunt you down. So, needless to say, Cyber Shadow becomes quite difficult, but it's difficulty that always felt manageable once I'd learned the various quirks and nuances of the many enemies that patrol each chapter. There's just an incredible amount of variety in the enemy design, and it works hand in hand with both the level design and Shadow's upgrades to ensure that Cyber Shadow is consistently fresh and challenging. That being said, not all of the difficulty is what I would categorize as good difficulty. There are definitely instances where the checkpoints are spaced a little bit too far from each other, which can be the wrong kind of brutal. Naturally, any frustration I felt was eventually washed away by a much stronger feeling of triumph once I finally hit that next checkpoint, but there were definitely several moments in the latter half of the game where I was shocked at how long I had been playing in a single life without hitting a checkpoint or the end of the level. As for the post-game, there's currently no New Game Plus or other difficulties, but you can return to earlier levels and search for upgrades and collectibles you might have missed and go for that 100% completion. There's also the signature Yacht Club list of feats that provide a unique set of challenges which are pretty fun to go for even if they don't actually reward you with anything. Finally, it's worth mentioning one other similarity between Cyber Shadow and The Messenger. Their soundtracks are both absolute bangers. Cyber Shadow is a wonderful merging of old school aesthetic and modern design sensibilities, much like Shovel Knight was back in 2014. Sure, its story is forgettable and some of its checkpoint placements are far enough apart to make me hesitant to apply a tough but fair label without caveats, but the way it evolves and changes over the course of its 7 to 8 hour campaign, thanks to excellent level, enemy, and progression design, is exemplary. Combine that with what's an early contender for Best Soundtrack of 2021, and it's easy to see Cyber Shadow as the start of something great for both Mechanical Head Studios and Yacht Club Games. For more Cyber Shadow, check out the first minutes of the game. And for everything else, keep it here on IGN.